So, a few people have done a favorite vampire horror movie tag video, and I'm not really going to do a vampire horror movie one because I honestly don't really feel that I think most of the movies on my list are really horror films as much as they are dramas. I don't really have anything that could be an action film or anything like that, but I think they're more just dramas. Anyway, so my top 10 vampire films. Number 10, The Breed, which I'll show you because it's not really one that probably too many people are aware of. It stars Adrian Paul, which, being a fan of the Highlander television show, I found it really interesting that he's in here. And Bai Ling, who was the female counterpart to Top Dollar and The Crow, and along with a slew of other movies, I think she's really a brilliant actress and more willing than most to really be extravagant in her role, and I find that really, really interesting. The main character is played by Bokeem Woodbine, who I'm not really familiar with outside of The Breed, but I think he does a great job in the movie. It's very interesting. It's one of those movies where vampires have come out and the living know about them, and so it's really interesting. I highly recommend it. For number 9, I have Nosferatu, and the copy that I just got not too long ago that I really love has an intro by David Carradine, who is no longer with us, of course, but I really enjoyed that, and it also has music by Typo Negative. Now, it is a bit of a different experience from the silent film version of the original, but I really like it. I enjoy having that there, and I can always hit mute if I want the original experience. So, number 8 is The Lost Boys. And for me, The Lost Boys is archetypal. Really, when it comes down to it, I don't know that it's a really excellent film. It's tragically 80s, practically. And there are some scenes that I just don't really enjoy. Like when you find out that Max is a vampire and he sprouts fangs and does the tongue thing. It's really pretty ridiculous, as I'm sure I just was. So there are quite silly moments in it that I'm not sure how seriously you can take it. But I enjoy it. Of the sequels that have been made recently, I've only seen the first one, I think The Tribe, and yeah, because I haven't seen The Thirst yet, but I did see The Tribe, and it was okay. I mean, it was the Lost Boys sequel. I enjoyed it. I had fun with it because of the nostalgia of it. So I expect The Thirst will be similar when I finally see it. Number 7, Interview with a Vampire. This has really become a classic vampire movie. And even though when it was first being made, Anne Rice absolutely hated it, and then after everybody loved the movie, she loved it. Whatever. It is a very good movie. There are some aspects that don't follow the book exactly. There are some parts that, for example, Armand, played by Antonio Banderas, was supposed to be like a 17-year-old boy. And Antonio didn't really pull that off. But he did a good job characterizing it in his own way. And so I appreciate it. In fact, my favorite line from the movie is his. I'll paraphrase it. I have found no secret or Yeah, I'm not remembering it, but something about no secret or anything that would save or damn my soul. And so that's a line I really enjoy. I'll probably look it up and put it in the description down below just because I like it. So that's number 7. Number 6. I might get slaughtered for this, but Queen of the Damned. Yes, that's right. I like it better than Interview. And again, there are spots that I'm kind of, well, that's silly. Actually, the main spot that I don't like, the main part of that movie that I don't like, is when Lestat is going to feed off of the girls that his manager has brought to him, and he's climbed up onto the ceiling. That part is great. But when they do that stupid, like, falling down, and it's like almost like a stop motion weird fall thing, that part's just, it's awful. But that aside, there are so many parts of it that just really, really hit the grit and the heart of what vampires are. And that's something that I just find magnificent. And I'll say it, I think Townsend did a hell of a lot better job playing the character of Lestat than what's-his-name did. His poise was more appropriate to the way Lestat was imagined in my mind, and so I really do have a preference for Townsend's version of Lestat. Plus, I really, really, really like the videos that they made that the Lestat band, theoretically made and everything. I really enjoy those. I like the black and white. I like I don't remember which one it was, but it heralded back to the Cabinet of Caligari. And so I really, really like that a lot. I think they really should have released a full album that was just Lestat, as if it were just a normal rock album and them on the cover. I don't know why they didn't do that. It just seems like a real loss that they didn't. But anyway, so number 6 was Queen of the Damned. Number 5 is one that I haven't seen on any other videos I've seen, is Let the Right One In. And by this I mean the original, which I believe was a Norwegian film or Swedish or something, somewhere in the northern European area. And I just thought it was a very intense experience and a very unique vision of what that would be like. And so if you haven't seen Let the Right One In, I highly recommend it. I have not seen Let Me In, which was the Americanized version. Not because bastards Americanized it and crapped all over it or anything. Not because of that. I've actually heard that it stands up fairly well as an American-made version of foreign film. I just haven't seen it yet, so I can't really say. Number 4 has been mentioned, one or two others. That's Shadow of the Vampire. I really, really I love the mystique that this movie has. I love that they leave the watcher to decide for themselves what is going on in Max Schreck's mind and why he's doing his performance the way he's doing it, if he really thinks he's a vampire or if he's only that much of a vampire for the role. It really, really leaves it open to interpretation, and I like that. I like that a lot. I also like the fact that it had Eddie Izzard in it. I'm a huge Eddie Izzard fan, so when I saw him in the movie, I'm like, yeah. Plus John Malkovich. I mean, come on. Oh, fabulous. Okay. So, number 4 was Shadow of the Vampire. Number 3 is Another movie probably not too many people have seen, so I'll grab it for you. It's called The Vampire Journals, and it's from Full Moon Productions. They've got some other vampire movies called Subspecies, trilogy, I believe. And in those movies, vampires are very monstrous and completely inhuman. Those are more horror movies. The Vampire Journals, they actually set it up to essentially take place in the same world, but to show a different side of vampire existence. And there are some spots in it that are incredibly cheesy goth. I mean, it's there's a point where the main protagonist is in a theater watching a performance that he's enthralled by, and it's like playing a game of Spot the Vampire. It's just hilarious because he's dead pale and shadowy, under the eyebrows and everything, and everyone around him is obviously very human. They're normal skin tone, and there's kind of a light shining right on him, and so it's kind of funny. But there's a definite sense of the decadence of the vampiric existence that I really, really like. And it's prevalent almost throughout this entire movie. And there's also another quote from this movie that I really, really like from the main female character. She's talking about Paris. I believe they're in Paris. Actually, I don't remember where the movie takes place, because I think the protagonist just references Paris. Anyway, one way or the other, they're walking down the street and she looks around them and says, "I love this city, it's so elegantly decayed." And just those words put together were just, the first time I saw this, I fell in love. That was magic. So, really, really great movie, Vampire Journals. If you haven't seen it, there's some cheese, but there's a lot of nice, sexy vampires in it too. So, watch that and enjoy it. So that's number 3. And one that fairly recently took its place in second is Rise, Bloodhunter, which I've been telling people about now lately. It's actually a vampire movie starring Lucy Liu, and I never remember his name, but he plays the main character in the television show The Badge. I think The Badge. He also plays the Thing in the Fantastic Four movies. Chiklis? I think his last name's Chiklis. And if you watched Dollhouse, there's a short little bit where the computer geek from Dollhouse is in it. And the main evil vampire is familiar to me, but I don't know him. I don't know what I've seen him in before, but he seems familiar to me. There's also a bit part by Marilyn Manson. That helps. He's very subdued, actually, but it's interesting. But Rise it has the best scene in it that I've ever known for a vampire movie to have, that shows the moral conundrum and difficulty in feeding off of humanity that Lucy Liu's character has. They kind of go into that a little bit with Louis and Interview and whatnot, but it just, her scenes dealing with that put those to shame. Absolutely to shame. And she doesn't come out being a whiny bitch. She comes out stronger after having gone through that. There are some naked Lucy Liu scenes that people will appreciate, I'm sure. And so, Rise, Bloodhunter is my number 2. My number 1 favorite not too surprising, Bram Stoker's Dracula. It is iconic. Entirely iconic. More than all the rest, I think, even. And absolutely brilliant. There are some other vampire movies that I want to give as honorable mentions just because they're so great. And I didn't want to leave them out. And I wanted to be sure to mention them in my video. So, honorable mentions go to Innocent Blood, which is a little bit of an older movie, but very enticing, if you will. It's pretty good. Underworld franchise, I enjoy them a lot. I'm a big fan of White Wolf and Vampire the Masquerade, which is pretty much that, and Werewolf is where Underworld was born, regardless of what anyone will say. And I enjoy them. I think it's interesting that they've chosen the blue hues for all 4 of the movies. That's kind of interesting to me. And if it continued, I think it could get kind of old. But I think it was a good decision to begin with and to carry on through the movies that they've made. I don't think that they're going to make another one. I do know that Kate Beckinsale has pretty much said if they're going to make any more Underworld movies, she will not be involved, which is fine too. But anyway, From Dusk Till Dawn, it was good, it was fun, but really the main thing that I don't really like about From Dusk Till Dawn is that the main characters are not vampires. The vampires are the adversaries. They're the things that you get to waste thousands of because that's exciting. I'm really not a Quentin Tarantino fan at all. And I know it was done by Rodriguez, but it's still, Tarantino's in there through and through. And the guy just really irritates the crap out of me. But it's still a great movie. They have some great lines. And I love seeing Tom Savini. And Sex Machine was an awesome character. A lot of fun, and Selma Hayek with a snake around her. Alright. Props. Props to Dusk Till Dawn. John Carpenter's Vampires, I also really, really liked. Really gave a different feel to it with the southwestern tones in the music and atmosphere and the sets and everything. That was really, really interesting. I enjoyed it a lot. The Hunger, it was so hard not putting The Hunger on the list, but I absolutely love it. And Susan Sarandon's amazing. Bowie's amazing, of course. But the fact that they weren't more supernatural kind of left me wanting a little bit. It really did. That's just something that, well, I guess that's all I have. Blade was really interesting. When it first came out, it did lay a foundation for a completely different kind of vampire movie. It was good. I really enjoyed it. The second one was, I didn't really like, I don't remember what they were called, but like the uber vampires that they had in the second one, and that when you become one, apparently automatically you know kung fu. But I really, really liked a lot of the costuming in the second one, and I liked the team of vampires that Blade was working with. Those were pretty badass. That was cool. The third one, I don't even remember very much about the third one, except the female character, Vampire Hunter. I just remember that she had a bow, and that was kind of cool. But I don't really remember too much about like the plotline or anything. Near Dark has been mentioned on a couple people's lists. Haven't seen it in a video, but I may have missed one that had Near Dark in it. Lance Henriksen as a vampire. I mean, that's just That's great. That's great movie making right there. And it's classic. And if you haven't seen it, you should. You should really, really see Near Dark. Highly recommend it. 30 Days a Night. I really, really like 30 Days a Night. The reason, probably the main reason that I liked it so much, is because it was a contrast to Twilight. Because it was a return to grit and gristle vampires that will eviscerate their victims and walk off into the night. Also, I come from a fairly arctically inclined environment, and so to see vampires in that kind of environment was pretty interesting. So I enjoyed it quite a bit. Daybreakers, which I haven't heard anybody else mention. It's another one of those where humanity knows about vampires. In fact, the problem in the movie is that the vampires are going to run out of humans and therefore blood. And so that needs to be resolved in the plot line. But I actually thought it was done pretty darn well. I enjoyed that one a lot. I'm very much expecting to enjoy Byzantium, which is a movie that's, I think, going to come out in 2014, along with Dracula Untold, which is a new Dracula movie starring Luke Evans, who is going to be playing Eric Draven in the new Crow movie. And I'm looking forward to that a lot. I finally saw a preview for the Dracula television show, and they seem to be bringing in a lot of very interesting elements. I think they're feeding off of the whole steampunk trend a little too much, but what you gonna do? It's a trend. They're gonna use it. So, but I still look forward to it. I think it's going to be really good. So, there are a few vampire movies, and there are so many more out there that I could speak on. There are so many great ones, and so many really cheesy ones, like Bordello of Blood, and things like that are just a fun ride. They're a fun movie to watch and just have a laugh at. So there you go. There is my top 10 vampire films plus. Thank you.